Hello guys and gals, and this is going to be Album of Horses Part 2, using the same tags. And last time we read, we read about the Arab and the Thoroughbred. Today we'll read probably about the Hunter and the Polo Pony. We'll see if we can get to the Morgan, but maybe not. These are kind of long and arduous to read, which is why this is going to be a very slow series for me to upload. As usual, this is a book by Marguerite Henry and illustrated by Wesley Dennis. I'm trying to charge my phone and the plug keeps falling out. So that if you keep on hearing it bong like that, that's because that's this is an original copy of the book. I got it for 27 cents at a thrift store back when they were open prior to COVID-19. And I'm going to... This has been published at least 15 times. This is the 15th printing. 1965. So this is a really, really old book, in other words. Let's see. Okay, that's the Arab. This is the Thoroughbred. Okay, I think that we are ready for the Hunter. Yep. Okay. And we're gonna just look at this guy doing a fence jump on a hunter horse. When the air is clean and sharp with autumn, the fox hunting swings into action, color and sound. Consider first the fox, Monsieur Reynard. Himself, he is a wily, bushy-tailed fellow, with traits both good and bad. He kills the farmer's chickens and sneaks his fruit, but on the other hand, he is also gobbling. He also gobbles bugs and grubs and mice. One time in Old England, he threatened to become a pest, and the whole countryside was aroused. Rosy-cheeked squires, black-coated parsons, black-cloaked parsons, butchers, bakers, candlestick makers, all called their hounds, leaped aboard their nags, and galloped uphill and down dale, trying to catch Reynard before he whiffled out of sight and into the deep blackness of his den. Just checking to make sure that my phone is still plugged in. As the fox population dwindled, did the Englishmen call off their hunts? No, indeed. The fun grew. They hunted more often. The little red fox was a grand excuse for galloping across country, taking ditches and fences in stride, and whether the sly one got away or there was a kill at the end seemed unimportant. Everyone, horses, hounds, riders, had such a glowing good time. As for the fox himself, if he escaped, he had the best time of all. He had outfoxed everyone. In town halls, at coffee houses, everywhere, the talk edged more and more towards fox hunting. It went like this. I say, 'tis the hounds that make the chase. To my mind, 'tis the horses, the Irish thoroughbred hunters. Aye, the beast that can stay the distance and leap like a cat is what makes the hunt. Be he all thoroughbred, all cart horse, or betwixt and between. Men even talked about dress. Sober homespun coats were well enough, but scarlet coats would liven the landscape. Riders fallen behind would have bright targets to guide them. A clever tailor by the name of Pink, not the singer Pink, of course, but it does say Pink. A clever tailor named Pink tried his hand at cutting and seaming bolts of scarlet cloth, and he did so well in fitting frames both spare and stout that his coats became proper attire, and they were called Pinks in his honor. I wonder if that's where the singer Pink gets her name. Oh, probably not. That's the less we say about Pink, the better. Anyways, along with the new color, spirits soared high. What was once haphazard fox chase what was once a haphazard fox chase became an organized hunt, with meets held fortnightly. think a fortnight is 2 weeks. I'm not sure. And I don't think they're talking about the video game either. Anyways, oh wait, were there pictures along the side here? Yeah, there are. Okay, there's somebody jumping a fence. There's somebody riding a pony. Or a hunter. And there's a bunch of hounds. There's hounds there. Okay, let's take a look at these pictures around here first. And there's the fox reclining, like, oh, hey, I outfoxed everybody. And then there's somebody with the horn. There's people on horses. There's a fox running. Okay, now we're up to date. Often the meet began while stars still pricked holes in the sky, while grass lay drenched in dew, holding the faint, oily smell of Monsieur Renard's prowling footpads. By candlelight, men put on their pinks. By lantern light, they mounted their... I wonder what that was. South-hearted hunters. Then out they went into the gray mist, heading towards Honey Hill or Squire Higby's place. And just as morning exploded, firing red and maple leaves and barns and pink coats, there they were. All of them. The master of the foxhounds, consulting his watch, the kennel huntsman, his hounds closely packed around his horse, the two whippers in, one ready to scout the fox, the other to round up any hounds that strayed, the field master a little apart from the others, counting noses, as it were, taking charge of the big field of mounted followers. There they were, all of them, eager to be off. The breeze stirs, whetting the excitement. Horses flare their nostrils. Hounds look to the huntsman for a signal. Riders take another notch in their girths. Monsieur Renard, however, is at ease, licking his chops and lolling in the sun, only a little distance from the hunt. He has had a good night of it, and his belly is stretched tight with the pickings of Squire Higby's chickens. He lies sprawled on the sunny side of a knoll, protected from the little wind by a boulder and deep woods beyond, unmindful of the plot against him. He dozes and snores till suddenly he is torn out of his bliss by a single sharp note. The huntsman's horn. Run for your life, it says. Run for cover. Run. Meanwhile, the kennel huntsman is approaching, signaling the pack, fanning them out. Luen, he cries. I think that's how it's pronounced. And the hounds enter the woods, their sterns upright and joyous. As they begin working to right and to left, a yip of happiness escapes them, as much as say, "This is our whole life." Behind them, the huntsman, the master, and the followers wait, with ears turned. Many know each hound by voice, by name, the babblers and the dependable ones. The pack is moving ahead now, scouring the covert. Minutes pass, and more minutes, and no sound but leaves and twigs crackling. And then the small sounds are as nothing. One bell-toned hound sings out as she touches the scent. It's Melody's voice. "Hark!" the huntsman cries, and he shouts to the pack, "Hark! To Melody, hark!" The other hounds move in towards her, noses down, tighter than ever. Now she's singing out in earnest, and one after one, the hounds give tongue until they burst out full of song. All the while, the whipper-in is scouting the open side of the covert, eyes darting, waiting for Renard to appear. He's up in his stirrups. He sees the fox. With an exultant cry, he jerks off his cap and points to the bushy tail streaking across the meadow. "Tally-ho!" he shouts, and away go the pack in full cry. The huntsman lifts his horn, blowing a choppy string of notes. "Gone away, gone away," the notes echo and re-echo until the followers know the hounds are on the line, and their horses know too. And they go wild with the chase. Nothing can stop them. Not ditches, not creeks, not fallen trees. Up and over them, across miles of country, through meadow and brook. Only minutes, an hour, who knows? The scent lost, they then found and lost again, while horses take a breather, and hounds Potter and Renard leaps into the top rail of a fence, teetering happily. Does he know his scent has stopped abruptly? He rests a little, then springs for earth for another round. Again the pack gives tongue, and again the earth quakes to the thunder of hooves, and again the fox baffles his enemy, jumping on the backs of running sheep, wading in shallow streams, backtracking to the woods, running until at last he can run no more. Breathing deep his weariness, he makes a last try for home, his tail dragging over the grass, leaving a strong scent. He can hear the hounds on him, he can hear them panting. And just as they are ready to tear him to pieces, he reaches a side entrance to his den, darts in, and is swallowed by its darkness. Monsieur Renard is victor, but strange as it may seem, no one is disappointed, not the hounds, nor the horses, nor the riders, at least of all the fox. He has had his fun too, and he will give them another good run some other day. This is the story of fox hunting in ancient tradition-loving England, and in young modern America too. After the hunt, each horse is walked slowly homeward, then covered with warm blankets, and at night, when the rider's too is under warm blanket and no more than half awake, he takes the jumps again in his mind. He remembers how his mount flew over the widest one, over the stone wall, with a brush on either side, and he allows to himself that he owns a pretty fair hunter. What if she does have a lop ear and turns her toe in? There's thoroughbred blood in her, man-o'-war blood, Godolphin, Arabian blood. Perhaps that's why she throws her heart over the jumps and then goes over after it. And just maybe he'll show her this winter what a great jumper at Madison Square Garden. With a slow finger, he writes her name on a bed quilt. Circus Rose, Circus Rose, Circus Rose. Often the dream spins out to nothing at all, but then again it comes to something. The fox-chasing mare who could jump stone walls did go to New York. Maybe you saw her there, the gray hunter, Circus Rose. She became champion of the year, all because she could stay the distance and leap like a cat. And now she's ready for the Olympics, and there will be friends to see her off. Huntsmen and houndmen, and one among them is sure to call, "Tally-ho, Circus Rose, tally-ho." And that was about the hunter. Now we have the Polo Pony. I'm trying to see if I've got enough cable here. Okay. Let's look at these pictures real quick. Looks like they're playing polo. Obviously. Okay, it says, once there was an English-Irish-American boy. English-Irish-American boy. What, is that Jacksepticeye? Oh. Once there was an English-Irish-American boy with dark, unruly hair and earnest gray eyes. He grew up on the marshes of Cape Cod, and his mother wanted him to be a clam digger or an assistant postman. Then he could always come home to supper at night and always sleep in his own bed. His father, you see, just loved to run across fields. He had come to America with an international track team, and he had to travel here, there, and everywhere with his team. You can understand why the boy's mother needed one man around the house, even if he was only a teenager. The boy dug clams and painted the picket fence and ran errands and went to school. Then one Saturday afternoon, he saw a newsreel in town, and that changed his whole life. Men in white breeches and helmets were whacking a ball as they rode galloping horses. It looked like fun, but the way he said fun to his mother over the supper table made it a big word. Shot through with speed, excitement, competition. He asked questions about the game. Did she know how it was played? How he could get to play? She shook her head, and the next day the clam diggers shook theirs. They had never heard about a game that looked like hockey on horseback. Only one man could shed any light on the subject, and that was an unpleasant light. Game for rich folks, son. You'll Oh, you got to have a whole string of ponies. One gets wore out, the first chucker, then change all outdoors for the critters, and good ones is scurrier than hen's teeth. Okay. What's a chucker, Gramps? I presume likely it's one round of the game. You got to play so many chuckers to the game. 6, maybe 8, I forget. It takes smart ones to play. Ponies, I mean. They can spin on a sixpence and just about guess which way the breakneck fools on their backs will go. The boy couldn't put the game out of his head. He just had to hit a ball from the back of a fast horse. He thought and thought how he could make it possible. The summer people on the Cape sometimes kept a horse or two. If he cleaned stables for them, then maybe he could take one on a short gallop. Okay, that is a reasonable assumption. And we're going to look at these horses here, all these different polo horses. Okay. He searched and found a family who owned several horses, and he worked all the season for them, mucking out stalls, grooming the horses, and finally exercising them. And that fall, when the family went back home, they left one of their horses for him to keep forever, with no strings attached. From then on, the boy never walked anywhere. He rode 5 miles to school, 5 miles home. Then he played polo. Equipment was easy to find. Trees for goalpost rather. A baseball in place of a wood ball, a hockey stick for a mallet. He bandaged his horse's leg for protection and clipped his mane so that it would feel the lightest touch of the reins on his neck. He taught him to stop suddenly, wheel, and start off at a gallop in the opposite direction. He rode at a dizzying clip, and some days he could swoop down and hit that ball, wham, right past the goal. Between games, he sponged the pony's face, just as the grooms had done in the newsreel, and he washed out the horse's mouth. First the animal reared in surprise, then he enjoyed the cool fresh water and opened his mouth like a bird. One night the boy rode over to his teacher's house, where he found an old book on games. There was just a small piece on polo, but he read it once and then once again until he knew every word. Historical summation of the game of pulu or polo. This being a game conducted on horseback with a ball and stick designed in the early tapestries, bespeak evidence of pulu being played in Persia centuries before the coming of Christ. Thus no one can doubt its being the most ancient of ball and stick games. An introduction to this wild riding sport was presented to British hussars in the Punjab by a tribe of Hindu horsemen who raced a field thwacking at a round willow root called a pulu. The period for their play was known to them by the Hindu word chucker. Upon returning to their native heath, the British hussars continued to have a go at this sport. It has never lost favor, albeit only men of great wealth may pursue this pleasure, requiring as it does a stud horse, so that there may be a fresh one for each chucker. The game is played in this manner. First, the choosing up of sides, 4 mounted men to each, then play begins, the object being to drive the ball between the goalposts of the opposing side. Each team acts as the body, and the ability of the 4 players to work together in the most effectual and dazzling play by individuals. There were no pictures at all, so in the margins the boy drew sweeping sketches of horses and Hindus and hussars, and was surprised when the teacher objected. "Ma," he shouted before he went to bed that night, "you got to know about this game. It's a team game, Ma, and you just support the man with the ball. You ride the opponents off like interference in football. All you do, Ma, is get the ball through the opponent's goal. I've got to get a job and go where I can play polo. Okay. The mother nodded and smiled and gulped down her dreams, letting the words go in one ear and out the other, feeling only the earnestness in them. She knew the boy was little no more, and when the time came, she sent him off to the big city of Boston with her blessing. He went to work there for a department store, and because he was used to the marsh grass and the sea, he felt boxed in and lonely. At noon, he would draw pictures on packing cases. The manager saw him one day and pushed him right upstairs to draw advertising pictures of men in neat new suits. The boy turned practically his whole paycheck over to the man who stabled his horse, but it was worth it. Visiting polo teams sometimes let him practice with them. Afterwards, he would listen to the players talk. The quick-thinking, hard-riding men who had records of hitting 6, 8, and even 10 goals in a game. They told how the great Tommy Hitchcock, the first man to earn a 10-goal rating, started out to practice as a youngster, swinging a stick from the back of a rocking horse, and how later his mother designed a huge wire cage where he and his friends practiced their shots from the back of a dummy horse. But the talk the boy liked best was about the ponies. He got up the courage enough to ask why they were all called ponies, and he learned it was a courtesy, just as grandfathers, for example, speak of their white-haired sisters as girls. Those first Hindu horses actually were ponies, and the name hung on even though ponies gradually gave way to the bigger horses required by the big American men. He learned, too, that the thoroughbreds crossed with cow ponies made the speediest and hardiest mounts. One player said he wouldn't have a pony unless it had first been toughened and seasoned by years of hard and fast riding on the range. The boy noticed that the greater the player, the more credit he gave his ponies. He liked that. In Boston, too, he joined the National Guard because the Army encouraged polo. It made men stronger, braver, better horsemen. Now for the boy, there was no more stable cost. The National Guardmen played Harvard, and in indoor polo, with only 6 chuckers and a small field, the Guardmen could hold their own. But the Harvard men had better horses, and they won the 8 chucker outdoor games on the big fields. The important thing, however, was that not so much the number of goals as the thrill of playing, the speed, excitement, and competition. Oh, competition, okay. The boy is man grown now, and he has 2 polo ponies of his own. He plays with a local team, as hundreds of other men are doing today. He no longer is the sport reserved for the men with great strings of ponies. Anyone can play if his heart is set on it. Only in America could this happen, and it did. The boy's name is Wesley Dennis. Okay, now wait a minute. I believe that this is the illustrator, Wesley Dennis, right here. Illustrated by Wesley Dennis. Okay, I didn't realize this was the guy's story. That's awesome. Anyway, we're going to leave it there, I believe. See, these are really, really long, so I'm only able to get through like 2 of these at a time. This is basically why this is taking forever. But that was Album of Horses by Marguerite Henry and illustrated by Wesley Dennis. And so yeah, if you like this content, make sure that you like and subscribe and that you ring the bell so you know when I upload. And with that being said, this is going to do it for the video. I appreciate all the support. If you want to support me, all the information will be in the description below. And thanks for watching, everyone, and have a great day.